Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Phillip Roybal. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'd like to welcome back to the show, the coach, Phillip Roybal. How you doing today, Coach?
You know what? Every day that I wake up, my eyes open up, and I can climb out of bed, it is an excellent day. Now,
Excellent day
some of
indeed.
the crap that happens during the day may not be so excellent, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's a great day, just like every day.
Yeah. I feel you, man. It's been kind of one of them days around here today too. I had a decent day, but it was, you know, sometimes you just find yourself in situations where you shouldn't get in them. It's the juice ain't worth the squeeze, but you do it anyway. Um, and there's just been it's stupid on my own part, but Twitter wars, man. I tell you, Twitter wars, and
Oh God.
man, uh, it's bad. It's bad enough when it comes from Okie Light or Texas or something. And
Yeah.
this isn't even that. This is coming from within, not even the Sooner. Well, the fan base, yes, but it started by a freaking other journalist. Which, come on, man, come on,
Wow.
getting these guys stirred up over Peyton Bowen. First of all, folks, before we get started, I want to say that we need to have Peyton Bowen's family in our prayers right now. He lost his sister after childbirth this past weekend.
Oh my
It's
God.
awful, terrible thing to have happen. And so we just I hope everybody's saying a prayer for those guys, for that
Absolutely.
family, because it's a tragic situation. It's just something you don't expect to see or hear about, and that's really kind of what this all. I mean, he missed practice yesterday because of it, obviously, and nobody would have known. But we had jackass freaking sports writer decided to tweet about it, and it's a tweet that he says, and I'm not going to tell you why. Well, you know what, dude? Don't say anything.
Don't put it out there then.
Don't say anything. Just shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody, it's not that nobody knew about it, it's that nobody was talking about it, and he shouldn't have either. So it just,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, it just
Well,
irritated the hell out of me. And I don't know.
well,
Anyway, like I
that's
said, it's one
that's
thing if it's Okie Light or Texas, but man, it
But
bugs me.
but you know, Jason, that's one of the sad parts of college athletics and even the pros. I mean, but
Yeah.
the hey Adela, but even the pros. But you know, those guys obviously they're getting paid big time money.
Yeah.
And but these college kids, they're under so much scrutiny and they get
Right.
attacked. And just like the Bowen family and Peyton lost his sister. Come on, guys, have a little sympathy here and be respectful of people
And the
a little
first thing,
bit.
obviously, the reason that I'm pissed off at Parker for doing it was because, dude, if you had said nothing, nothing would have probably been said, right? But instead of being cryptic about it and like, I know
Right,
something you don't know, it's just, and that's the kind of guy this dude is. He just gets on my last damn nerve. And I mean, I think
right.
that he's decent at his job, everything else, but for crying out loud, dude, grow up, grow
Yeah,
up. And because
I'm with
in this situation, we're talking about a deal where come on, man, you could have just said it's a personal thing. It does, because everybody was like, oh, he's going to Oregon, and you
you.
did. You had a bunch of idiots like that, and there was a few of them from Oklahoma, but there was some from Texas and trolling,
Yeah.
and I mean that happens, right?
Right.
But it wouldn't have happened if he'd have either just,
Don't put it out there.
yeah, man, come on, it's just
Hey,
silly
Jason,
stuff.
on a positive note here,
Yes.
I really like the work you've done on the site.
Hey,
It
thanks, man.
looks incredible, brother. You've done a lot of work, I can tell.
We're getting there, and I don't want to tell them to go to the site just yet because it isn't done, but we're getting there, and it's obviously we're kind of going through with the branding and stuff. And folks, I know everybody sees I got my the little this is right in there up above me there. You see that, the official podcast merchandise. I have dropped prices on everything in the store pretty much. I would tell everybody get out there and get it while it's hot. And we're actually coming up. I'm waiting to have a conversation with a certain family member of a friend of ours or a player of OU's. I've got a pretty cool design. I'm going to toss it over to you, Adela, and see what you think about it. But got a cool design that I'd love to leave for everybody to be able to purchase as well. If you guys have designs, if there's an idea that you have, something that we say or something that you want to see said, I mean, we always say horns down and all that kind of stuff, but anything you want to put in there, let me know if it's within reason. I mean, as you can see, the hats that I've got in here, I'm pretty leaning about what we about what we sell for merchandise.
I've got one for Texas, but I don't think we can. I don't think that's the number
Yeah,
one they want us to put
we
on there.
might be able to do it. We might be able to do it like let's see, this one. We could do it as a hashtag, maybe. Let's see what y'all think. Might do that one. What do you think? How about that?
There you go.
Is that what you were thinking?
Yes,
Is that what you
sir.
were thinking? All right,
Yes,
something along
sir.
those lines, anyways.
Hey,
Yeah,
read between the lines.
perfect, perfect. Yeah, and but and I will say that when it came to all this stuff with Peyton Bowen's family, you saw a bunch of people from Texas, which was cool that they were very supportive, about it. There's a couple that weren't, but it's always
That's a bad
outnumbered by the
deal.
ones that are great. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just so
Yeah.
as far as with something
Majority
like
are.
that.
Yeah,
Listen,
the
man,
majority
most
are
people are
good.
decent people, even if they're Texas fans. They're usually
Yeah,
decent people.
yeah.
So that would be something that I look at and yeah, yeah. Oh, and then what were we saying? Oh, yeah, Hank, is it you that calls USC suck? I like that one. We could change what we could do. We could flip it around and even do the colors or whatever. That'd be kind of cool, right? I don't know. Yeah,
Can't spell
Texas.
suck without USC.
That's right. You can't. You can't. Thank you, Hank. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So yeah,
Hey,
let me know
thank
what you guys think, and we'll get some stuff in there. But check out the site. We've dropped the prices on everything. We're not selling a whole lot, so but the thing is, guys, anytime you want to help us out on the show, um, let us know with right through Venmo, Cash App, or the Super Chat Heart. We do still have our I'll pop it up there here in just a few minutes, but it's
you.
our Fanatics partner store as well, up to 65% off everything you want. I'm actually starting to get some new partnerships with some of these other sponsors type of deal, be more like affiliate stuff. But yeah, I've got one that says Tebow right now. Kim, if you look at that one, it's just above Coach here. So yeah, you can check that one out there, and it's in all different colors. We do have some Otis Taylor stuff in there as well. Anything that you buy on the Otis Taylor stuff, I actually did get one of those hats as well yesterday. So this is one of the Forever 89s hats. Anything that we sell that has anything to do with the Forever 89, obviously this is our hashtag, something that we've used way past do the same thing. We will definitely be putting that towards getting him into the Hall of Fame. So what, we would like to do some advertising, some paid advertising on some stuff like that. We've talked about doing even his story is so amazing. His book, his everything that you read and the things that you hear about him, it's just, the story is so amazing. And so we'd love to finally get the man in the Hall. Anything that we sell that has anything to do with Otis Taylor will go directly to that. But again, we got to kind of pay the bills around here too. So don't forget to hit us with a tip if you feel the need. We will open up the line here in just a little bit for you guys to jump in with us. Wanted to talk a little bit today about, a couple of things. How about this? We were just talking about it on Ty's show in there earlier, and man, we've been watching a lot of these guys at Oklahoma practice, and I got to tell you, I can't freaking believe they're feisty and fight. You had Stoops, little Drake Stoops was going at it with Billy Bowman yesterday, man. They got into a scuffle. I love it when players fight with each other out on the field. I know you used to love that during practices when they, you don't want it to get too far,
Right.
but you let it go a little bit. right?
Well, you got to let them. Number one, you're having some good intensity at practice
Oh yeah.
when you have something like that break out, and then the other thing, you know what? It tells you those players have a little bit of, I don't know what
Oh
word I
man,
want to use, but
they got a little
they have a
fire
little
to them,
juice.
little pepper,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, yeah.
Hey,
So I
hey,
no, I loved it. Now, like you said, you don't want it happening every day,
can't be getting
but yeah,
hurt and doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
right.
of course.
Yeah, but a little bit of that helps,
Hey, brothers
and
fight all the time
it
too.
gets
That's the other
everybody else
thing.
at practice fired up.
Sure does. Sure does. And I think that it definitely did. I know it had that effect on people on Oklahoma fans today.
Sure.
They were loving seeing it. I mean, it was I mean, little Drake Stoops, man. And I mean, and Billy's not huge, but you want to talk about athleticism. And I mean, he popped them and they I mean, Drake didn't give up the block. They just kept on, kept on, kept on. A lot of moxie. I enjoyed seeing it. And you're seeing and then you're seeing these linebackers are bigger than they've been in so
Oh
long.
yeah,
And
bigger and faster and stronger.
I'm telling you, these guys, it's just to see the difference just in a year of
Yeah,
right now. I was just telling those guys on Ty Show, Coach, a year ago they were so thin along the defensive line, and they're still a little thin at the tackle position, but they've got some parts to move and do some different things. And you know how it is with the 3-3-5. You can do some things.
yes,
Also, but the secondary, I just sat there, started writing it down, and the guys that are really just kind of showing out. You've got the incumbent would be Woody Washington and he's still there. He's a great player himself. But you got Kendall Dobie coming in from the JUCO ranks for the corners. But we've talked about Makari Vickers. He's lighting it up, playing great out there. Peyton Bowen's looking good as himself up until the weekend. He had his first interception the other day. Um, but you've got guys like Josiah Wagner and Dave McCullough that is coming from. You still got that up there? Oh, you froze up a little bit there, Coach. But Dave McCullough, who's going to be a safety. You've got Billy Bowman, as I talked about. You've got it just goes on and on. And I mean, this is a great problem to have.
sure it
A
is.
great problem to have because before you don't got enough guys running out there to really kind of, and now they're wondering who's going to play the cheetah, you
Yeah,
know? And just, hey, on standby, are you ready to come on? You can come on with us anytime you'd like to, Adela. Anyway, the, uh, these guys, and then we're not even talking about some of the linebackers and stuff like that, but they're loaded everywhere. You're not sure who's in, and now I think they're starting to wonder how are we going to get all of these guys some time, right?
yeah,
Because and you know how that is. How do you make that? And that's what I was going to ask you is when you've got a bunch of guys, and particularly they're young guys, you want to develop them, and you don't want to get them. I mean, obviously, it can play itself out if they're struggling with the defensive calls, stuff like that. But we're not really seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of athleticism, a lot of guys that are doing some amazing things, and so you're starting to wonder how do you juggle that?
I tell you what, it's a great problem to have. And you know, our interior linemen, we loved having a good rotation with those guys because now if you've got enough guys to get in that rotation, you know,
Right.
you're going to be late in the game. You're really going to be ahead of the ball game because they're going to
Sure.
be fresh, going to be strong, uh, and no, I think it's a great problem to have. And like you said, you got some of the young ones that they may be struggling a little bit, but
Sure.
you put them down there with the other three, and sub them in that way. And during the week, you'll prep during the week depending on who you're playing. And you know what? We're going to get this is going to be the guys we start with. One of them may be one of those young ones. So
Yeah.
he gets some of that work with the older guys and they can talk to him, coach him up. But hey, I'm telling you, if you if you can go into that with at least 8 bodies that can get it, from
interchangeable and just kind of get in
yeah,
and out of there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's golly,
Well, just
if you
looking
do
at their
that, you're
defensive
gonna be pretty damn good
backs.
on defense. I mean,
Yeah, I mean Josiah Wagner, he's a freshman coming in. Came out of Washington State. Now they were calling him Pitbull the other day. You know what I mean? Because and this is a kid who's mixing it up, and he's not a big guy, but he's in there mixing it up. And then Kendall Dolby, apparently from everything I've seen and heard, this is another cornerback that is just a flat out stud athlete. Um, you've got the younger McCullough brother who probably going to get some safety time, except for you've got safeties in. We were just talking about Billy Bowman. That guy's a stud. He's established himself as you got to put him in, right?
yeah,
And then, like I said, with Woody Washington, he's been the best corner on the defense for the last two years at least, and definitely he's obviously got a lot of experience. He's made big plays at big times. I mean, he had 2 interceptions against Texas 2 years ago. It's important that he's going to obviously play, but you're going to see guys like, I mean, if Josiah is probably going to get in there for sure at corner. I think with Murray, you're probably going to see him playing some nickel as well because he's a big kid. Even though he's playing corner, you're going to see a lot of nickel out of him, and he could. And I think that's really what they're trying to see more of, and something that they've been talking about a lot is that a lot of these secondary coaches like Jay Adai, he wants you to just call them defensive backs because he wants to move them around, and they're going to move them around. So, yeah, and I agree with you here on that, Kim, that they are going to have some guys that they're going to have to go they're going to have to, mix some snaps up and stuff like that. And maybe it's the hot hand for a day or whatever, somebody that's doing whatever they're doing. But again, this is if for all of us OU fans that have been watching great offense for all this time and then hoping that it's enough because you just weren't stopping anybody. This is an awfully cool thing to start seeing if you're an Oklahoma fan, because now we're still got a good offense. And now we're going to go out there and be able to stop some people. And this is going into the SEC next year. You got to do it. You just got to do it. So I am, maybe Hank, but I tell you, he's out there kicking ass. And they're calling him Pitbull because he's mixing it up. So Wagner is one of those guys that, I don't know that he's going to get a ton, but because there's only so many spots on the field. But your linebackers, you start talking about that. Samuel Omosiho is probably going to get some playing time. Lewis Carter's not even there yet. But if you've watched that kid's film, Florida kid, fast as hell, he gets to the football. When you saw the All-American game, the Under Armour game that he was in, he was all over the field, just like one of those guys that just like, well, and we hadn't even brought him up yet, but Adebaware, who, his brother ran a freaking, what did he run, a 4.4, and he's 290 pounds, at the combine this year, played at Northwestern. He's got a 7-foot wingspan. I don't see how you can keep him out. He's going to play flat out. He's going to play. He's a game wrecker. Yeah. So, we got guys that it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So just kind of excited about that. You are starting to see a lot of traction in the recruiting as well. They picked up their first commitment now, and I know a lot of people are a little worried about this. Why are we not getting commitments? I'll tell you why, and I think most people do know this. Coach Venables does not want you committing, and you're still going to be taking visits. So he doesn't want them. He wants them to go take your visits. Don't commit, and then go visit somewhere else. I don't want you dating me and dating somebody else, basically. I think that there was times last year that I thought that was a little much to ask. Who in the hell am I to question it whenever he got a top 4 recruiting class? It worked, and they are really working on relationship building more than we're going to pay you if you get here. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I got to tell you, Jason, I really like that mentality because, hell, let's be honest. I mean, it's about building those relationships with those players. And it doesn't make a crap if they commit or they don't commit. Because at the end of the day, until that name's on the dotted line, and again,
That's
Why do
why
you
we don't
want
talk a lot of recruiting here, you know?
exactly? And why do you want what in my opinion, you know what? This is what I have to sell. I have something good to sell here. So
Sure.
go look at all that other crap that's out there because
Mhm.
ours is the best. I mean, and to me, that's the
Right.
way that ought to be the mentality people have instead of saying, "Well, you know what? Sign with us, and then you're done. You commit to us, and
Well,
and
you
and
see
you're
what
done."
that did to Jimbo's team last year. I mean, they didn't get fits. They just got guys that they were athletes. They got athletes all over the field, and then what? Most of those 5 stars that they got last season are gone now.
They're gone.
I
Yeah,
think all but one of them, all but one of the 5 stars that they picked up in that class are gone.
yeah,
And because they just weren't fits and money, and on top of that, who's to say what they're doing with the money? They're promising this and not delivering. I mean, I could see a booster cutting off payments when they only had 4
mhm,
wins,
yeah,
towards the end of the season. I could see that happening. And on top of that, he's suspending players for, I mean, obviously there was just some bad fits where I was hoping that, obviously they needed some more bodies in Oklahoma last year. But I'll tell you, he is sticking to the plan. And here's what something that we were talking about on the show a few minutes ago. And this is something that I think more about this all the time. When you start thinking about real recruiting and like elite recruiting, you're thinking about SEC teams first, obviously Georgia, Alabama, LSU. But who else? Clemson.
yeah,
Clemson has been recruiting elite. Now, guess what? The biggest part of the Clemson staff is now at Oklahoma,
yeah,
particularly defensively, anyway.
yeah,
Eh, They got players that came from Clemson. James Skalski's been out there, getting after it with the linebackers. Hell, BV's been out there getting after it with the linebackers too. It's been kind of fun to watch these guys. It's just what we've seen on television and stuff like that, because not everything's been open. But these guys are in the room. There's right now they're in on probably, I mean, they've got a list of about 5 5-star defensive tackle guys, and there's not a ton of those dudes around anyway. They're in on almost every one of them. Obviously, we're talking about David Stone would be the biggest one. Even Gerald McCoy is helping recruit him because he's an Oklahoma kid, as we
yeah,
talked about. But if Williams Waneri, there's just, I mean, there's a list of guys, and every one of them has Oklahoma in their top 3, or in their top 11, depending on where they're at on their stuff. They picked up Jeremiah. Oh man, I have that written down. Defensive back out, another defensive back that was their first one. And again, he's been telling a lot of these guys they're ready to already say, yeah, we're coming. We're going to go ahead and we want to go ahead and commit. And he's been like, don't, because if you're going to go to some of these other places, I don't want you to do that. I would rather you go and then commit whenever you're ready, whenever you've seen it all, because that way we're good to go. And I agree with that. I mean, if you know that you've got the goods, like you said, coach, if you got the goods, you've got the best coaches for the defensive line. You've got one of the best coaches, secondary coaches, and Coach Adai, a great recruiter.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, every one of these guys can recruit. Every one of these guys is recruiting
Yeah.
great.
I
And
agree.
this is the same staff that was recruiting guys like, well, what's his name? Isaiah Simmons. And, they had 3 first rounders in 2020 off the defensive line. I mean, it's just one after another after another. Yeah, we were just talking about that, Jimmy, where Billy and Stoops were getting into that fight. Yeah, they've got 5-star crystal balls right now that are in favor of Oklahoma, 7 of them. I don't, again, when pen hits paper, but this is a difference in even a year ago, we weren't in the room with these guys. Oklahoma was not getting in the room to have these conversations. And, you can go get a Heisman quarterback if you want to, and that's great. And I think that they have a Heisman quarterback type right now that they just brought in. They've got Michael Hawkins, who's a crystal ball, and he's going to be another 5-star. That'd be 8. He'll be 5-star by the time this is all said and done. I'm almost sure that he's going to Oklahoma. His dad and Levy are best friends. They were in the same recruiting class at Oklahoma too. So, that's probably going to work out in that favor. They already got a 2025 quarterback that, is already committed to Oklahoma as well.
Yep.
This is a different thing than what we're used to seeing. It's a great thing to see. And for the haters that are out there that are saying, "Oh, well, they were 6-7, blah 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 blah," it just goes to show you how little people pay attention to what's really happening if it's not on their team. It's easy to just look at the paper, look at what happened on paper. You don't even realize that 5 of those losses were by a touchdown or less, 4 of them by 3 points. What's the difference? I mean, if you win 3 of those games, that's 9 wins.
Well,
And they were 124th out of 131 on defense too, total defense.
exactly. And again, I tell you, and we're seeing some of the same things happen over in our program at Notre Dame, and it's
Yes.
again, we're getting recruiters,
Yeah.
coaches that can coach, and I tell you what, guys, and some
Going to
people
what we were talking about the other day on Cody's show was culture, and that was something that he
right.
wanted to talk about, and that's exactly what's happening in Oklahoma. And I want to hear about that with Notre Dame too, because I agree with you.
No, it's the same thing, and the bottom line is, guys, it's and people will call me crazy, and with every right to, but I would rather hire a great recruiter than a great coach, because if I have the Jimmies and the Joes, you know what? My coaching has to be this much compared to if I'm playing you with a bunch of 3 stars, I got to coach them up. And you know what? The hard part about that is I can coach my butt off and be the
Mhm.
greatest coach in the country, and I'm going to get a 3 star to play a little bit better, but I'm competing against 5 star players. So I'd
Yeah.
rather have a great recruiting coach, and we're seeing that at the University of Notre Dame. But here's the thing: I compare it to OU, and I look at Notre Dame. Now we have both great coaches and great recruiters, which is gonna. I think we're gonna see the fruits of that labor.
Sure. Sure. And I mean, well, and I've said this too. I think Marcus is a great coach. I mean, and everybody had anything to say about him. I mean, he's been at everywhere he's been. They loved him. I think that it was pretty clear when Kelly decided to leave. That there was nobody else that those kids wanted to coach
No,
them. And to me, I think that, and again, I feel like when you start you look at Miami, they got, now he was having to jettison a lot of people. And I know a lot of people were talking a lot of smack about Cristobal. I mean, Cody likes to. Of course, he's a Florida fan. But
sure.
I got to tell you, I mean, that guy, you have to replenish the tree, man. You got to cut the branches. The dead stuff has to fall away. And
Yeah.
in the end, so if you didn't recruit them to begin with, how much are you when you come in and you want to do things different than what the last coaching staff was doing it's not always as easy as saying, hey, you're going to do it, and then they just buy in right away. They just don't.
No.
And particularly when things do get tough and you're used to having you've got you had a Heisman quarterback the year before that saved their ass out of at least 6 games then.
Yeah.
With Lincoln, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams, they for sure lose Texas. They probably lose they definitely almost lose Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean, I still don't know how they pulled that one out. And then I really don't. And then you've got Tulane was a close game. And all of these games were just so close. And they very easily could have lost to West Virginia last year. They very easily could have lost to Kansas State. They beat them that game, but they almost did it. And again, you don't expect to see them losing 5 games by 1 score. I don't even think it's mathematically possible probably to do that 2 years in a row. You know what I mean? So you have to expect that that's going to turn around. That being said, the main thing is that it was clear that even with these guys coming in and doing their thing, and I'm not saying everybody didn't buy in, because a lot of them did. Some of them didn't, and they just didn't work out. And in the end, then you got a quarterback hurt, They weren't, and and on top of that, and we were talking about this on Twitter today too. Something that was going on there is that you had Booty was supposed to play the Texas game. He had an eye infection the day of the game. They ended up playing Bevel. We saw what happened. They were better off running Braden in there and doing the Wildcat than they were, and it still wasn't working out. So it's just one of them deals that there was no depth. Now you got depth. You're hoping that Gabriel stays in and does his thing, but if not, you've got the player of the year in the country, Jackson Arnold, ready to go. And from everything, there's another person that from everything you hear, he's not missing a pass. He's not missing throws. He's not missing anything out there. He already ran the same offense in high school. He's known Jeff Lebby for a while. I guess his coach at Geyer is really good friends with them too. They run the same kind of stuff. This is a guy, and plus he's just a flat out good athlete, man. The guy played in 3 state championship games.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So won one, lost a couple, but I mean, he's had 3 losses in his career. It looks good. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other stuff to talk about, but for us OU fans and stuff, it's a good day. Good day. Excited to see some of that stuff going on. Again, guys, make sure you hit that like button. We're pretty close to how many people are in here. I'd like to see more people coming in. Make sure you're sharing this with your friends, letting us know about that, letting them know we're on the push to 1,500 subscribers. We hit our 1,000 in January. We've been kind of hovering around 1,450 we're at 1,460 now. We've been there for a couple of weeks though. So it'd be great if we could kind of up those numbers a little bit. That 1,500 number, that's a nice milestone. And I'd love to be at 2,000 well before the season starts, which is, still a little ways away. But, it helps us. The more subscribers we have, the more they push our videos out there. So that's a good deal. Let's see. What are you guys talking about in here? Yeah. Unlike Texas, OU isn't recruiting anyone who would make a Twitter video making fun of them because all the Shorthorns saw was a 5-star. Yeah. And unlike Everett, Arnold has a CFP build. Yeah, and then here's the thing I would say about Evers. Man, that kid's gonna be good. If you saw him throw the ball at all, Hanky, he can spin it. Was he ready? Apparently not. And I would agree with that. He was still real skinny. They didn't want to get him killed. But I mean, when it got to the point that it got to in the Red River game, what do you got to lose? Put him in. Let's find out what we got. Yeah. I think that they let him get out of there without even knowing. But I also feel like that the succession plan was just in the works. There was no way that you're gonna, if you keep him out of this season, Jackson Arnold, and I still feel like there's probably going to be some times that he gets an opportunity to play. And look, if he takes over the job, the chances are he may never give it back. But if he was to not play much this year, for sure, his true sophomore, his redshirt freshman, whatever it turns out to be, he's the guy. There's no 2 ways around it.
Sure.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he only hung around for a couple of years too, because he looks like he's going to be that good. Everybody compares him with Dante a lot. If he's as good as Dante, I'm going to promise you that he's going to be good, because Dante Moore is real good. Real good. Yeah. So we'll figure it out. We'll see how that goes. But let's see. Mercy says nope. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Very true. Evers, little thin. Yeah, he was. We'd have loved to see him go. Yeah, let him throw it, man. Let him go. But they didn't put him into the last end of the game, So it kind of was what it was. And that's, if I had anything to pick on with Jeff Lebby last year, it was that. You know what? I get it that you didn't think he was ready. I mean, they lost 49-0. Who gives a shit if he's ready? Get him in. You know what I mean? Put him in the damn game. Do something. So that's where I would have been at with it. But that being said, okay, so kind of looking through some of this stuff we were talking about. Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley.
Who?
Tebow. Tebow.
Hey,
Now, so I was going to ask you guys all what you thought. The NCAA in the last week has clarified on their stance now on, and this is supposed to have been how it was anyway, that you get one freebie to where you can transfer in the portal without having
yeah,
to sit or anything like that. That's not been how it is. You have at least who's the kid from Bishop Gorman that he's been in 4 colleges in 4 years now. Same thing with JT Daniels. He started off at SC, he was in Georgia and West Virginia. Now he's at Rice. So these guys are moving around. I don't know how much they're going to do as far as that's concerned, but here's what my thought was. And this is the first thing I thought. I made some people laugh here today on Twitter on this one. If you didn't see the trailer, the video trailer, you'll have to check it out. But my question was, so now they're saying unless you are going to essentially, unless there's extenuating circumstances like, mental health problems or some kind of abusive situation within the program, or they were talking, even in the memo that they put out, it was a lot of doom and gloom type of stuff. And I was kind of surprised that they actually made examples like that.
right.
Basically, what they're saying is you ain't going anywhere and get to just play right now. And what did she do now? I just feel like this is a Lincoln Riley rule. Because of the fact that the dude has been, lack of a better term, cheating. Since he was, he had guys recruiting for USC that were on his staff at Oklahoma before anybody else even knew that he was taking that job. Then last year, Jordan Addison wins the Biletnikoff at Pitt. They win the ACC. He had no plans he hadn't talked about going anywhere. All of a sudden, he's going into the portal. And he went late. Why? Because he got a fat lump of cash and Lincoln was getting a hold of it. Pat Narduzzi screaming on the tables about that.
Yes.
Texas has been throwing his
Narduzzi, he's not a real vocal guy about that kind of stuff. About anything.
He's a hard, but he's gonna go up and just coach you. He's just gonna go out and coach his team.
Yeah.
But hey, he was very
pissed.
loud about it.
He was pissed.
And listen, hey, everybody, we've talked about this too. That whole deal with Caleb Williams, and there's a reason why most Oklahoma fans are now like, screw Caleb Williams, because even though he did play in the bowl game, even though he did what he did, he rode back with Lincoln from the Bedlam game in a Suburban, and they had it all planned out as far as everybody's concerned, because sure enough, he never would say what he was going to do, and then he used them going and getting Dylan Gabriel as his reason to leave, which was BS, because they all knew he was leaving. And if you're not going to tell them that you're staying, they have to go get somebody else, right? And they should have went and got more people. They shouldn't have done it that way. That was the other mistake they made, was saying that it was Dylan's job instead of saying come compete for it, because then you ended up with Davis Bevel as your second best quarterback. Sheesh. Same with JT Daniels. Yes, again, guys, there's a lot of these dudes running around that they're getting. Quinn, he did it one time, but I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, what's the over-under on them calling for Arch Manning to play? I would say week 2, and if they get beat at Alabama, there's going to be people screaming for Arch to go in. So Quinn, being NFL caliber as far as his arm is concerned, would he stay? Hell no, he was not going to stay. And he would probably even have to sit a year, but I would think that you're going to have to do that. I don't think you're going to get rid of this, but I do feel like this is the Lincoln Riley rule, and I think that that's a fair thing to say. I don't know. What do you think about that, Coach?
Well, bottom line is, I agree. I think it is the Lincoln Riley rule. But at the end of the day, let's clean up. Let's clean it up a little bit. That's coming. When you've been at 4 different schools, come on now.
Listen, maybe it's you. Yeah, maybe it's you.
It just
right?
there's nothing right about it. I mean, bottom line, I mean, hell, pick the school you're going to go to and go, and and all in a lot of instances, kids come in there and it wasn't what they really were sold, or
Sure.
coaching staffs change, and
Now
you know,
that's not going to change. If a coach leaves, they can leave, right? They
right,
can still leave with the coach.
right,
Yeah.
and which ought to be that way,
Mhm.
because that's not what you bought into. But at the end of the day, you know what? You ought to get to transfer once, and that ought to
Sure.
be it.
Yeah, again, that's where I feel like that, and even Lincoln himself, of course, he said this shit after he flipped over, 50 players on his roster in year one, and he says, "Well, I think we're getting to the point we're probably going to have to put some guardrails on the portal." You jackass! You're going to say that now? Well, so I'm glad they did. They waited until he had 2 years worth of good portal players to do it, but they did. And now he's probably screaming that they took him out of context when he said it. No, you said it. They need some guardrails. What they really need is a freaking electric fence for your ass, because
Exactly.
you're shady, bro. You're shady, and so that's just
You're
shady.
being kind.
Yeah, yeah. I could say a lot worse. Believe me.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I'm saying. Being kind.
oh yeah, but I mean, well,
Yeah.
and I know for 2 years he's been trying to get Xavier Worthy to leave freaking Texas. He's been trying for 2 years to get him out of there. And it's always receivers, you know, always
Yeah.
receivers. But he's been trying to get Xavier Worthy out of there for 2 years. I would not be surprised. Like if, say, well, you got Jonte Cook, who's going, and he was the best receiver in the state. Um, he ended up with the best numbers, even, but they won the state championship. They beat Geyer
Big
at
guy.
DeSoto. Big guy, speed. I mean, he's a stud, right? He's going to Texas, but they're loaded everywhere. I mean, if he doesn't get enough playing time, you could see him going to the portal. And particularly, listen, if Sark doesn't start winning, how long do they keep him? How long do they keep him? I think they're probably going to keep him at least for another year to see what they're going to do,
Yeah.
because I don't think that they want to, let Arch walk out the door. Um,
Right.
without ever having played or anything like that. But so I think he's fairly safe. But honestly, what if they stumble and they win 7 or 8 games again when they should win the conference or be right up there in the championship game at least? I
Yep.
mean, it's not like Texas has a problem with having knee-jerk reactions. They'll do it, So I wouldn't be surprised. It just, to me, there's some things that are going to happen, but I definitely watch. This isn't going to stop him necessarily. He's just going to find another way to do it. But I'm telling you, it's the Lincoln Riley rule. It's got to be, right? It's got to be, because
Yeah.
he is the guy that does it the most. And, and
Yep.
James, I would say that this is one of the reasons that I believe that you're probably right. That he might leave for the NFL at some point if they do start really making it hard. Yeah, 7-win Sark Hank. If they
Yeah.
do start making it hard on him to get the players he wants, because he's proven. I mean, he told everybody that the reason he was going to USC was because you couldn't recruit elite players to go to Oklahoma, which is a joke. Look at what they've done the last 2 cycles. They were in the top 10 in a month. They got to number 8 the first go around. This year they got to number 4, and they're probably going to be in the top 5 again.
Hmm.
For the way it looks, it could be top 3. Who knows?
I
But
agree.
I'm saying, clearly it's a problem that Lincoln has with recruiting. And so does, and it seems to me like he enjoys getting guys that have already been in programs. He does the retread thing very well. Although his best recruit probably was, aside from Baker, is probably Caleb Williams. So anyway, I don't know, guys, but tell me what you think about that. I mean, I'm going to call it the Lincoln Riley rule until somebody tells me otherwise. I don't think that there's nobody else has really been talking about it when it comes to the transfer stuff, that you have to worry about the shady shit that he's doing, because that's always the name that comes up every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there any
No, I
rules?
agree with you 100%.
Yeah, there's been stuff in the rules about that, Kim. Yeah,
Yeah.
that rule has been there already. It's you're not supposed to do it. If they're not in the portal, you're not allowed to talk to them. That's tampering,
Well, and
right?
but the only way that's going to be found out and being able to even be proven is if whoever he's talking to turns them in for it.
Well, and on top of that, there's even ways around that too, because even with, I mean, he wasn't stupid enough to with Addison, he didn't talk to him directly. He
Right.
roundabout way
Indirect.
back channeled to him, and
Yeah.
that hey, come to USC, you can play with Lincoln. He'll give you a couple $1,000,000. Come on, you're the Blitnikoff winner. They need another receiver. You know, it, it's
Yeah.
again.
I agree.
And listen, and then what I would tell you is that when Lincoln wants you, and if you're a receiver or you're a quarterback,
He's
um,
going after you.
oh yeah, well, he got Caleb because the other quarterback. He told the other quarterback to leave. He knew he was getting Caleb Williams. He knew he was. Caleb can say what he wants, and this is the one place that I take issue with Caleb Williams. He acted like he was going to stay. There was at no time that the man was going to stay. He wasn't staying. He went to Oklahoma for Lincoln. He left Oklahoma for Lincoln. And Jackson Dart is not Caleb. It's not. And so, yeah, he wasn't going to stay. Now, this year, I'm surprised that I was actually kind of surprised that they ended up getting what's his name to stay in because of the fact that he's not going to get a chance to play right away in year one. But when you've won 3 Heisman trophy, your quarterbacks have won Heisman Trophy 3 times, you're going to get those good quarterbacks. They're even talking about the guy that's the number 1 recruit this year that
Yeah.
should be a Nebraska guy. He's a legacy kid. They've got him crystal ball to go to SC. And, I don't know that he's better than the next guy coming up, but see, we're going to see. Yeah. She has Caleb do it. Mm-hmm. She has her players doing the recruiting. Yeah, listen. Yeah, of course. Of course. Look, man, and how hard do you got to recruit? How hard do you got to recruit when they win the Heisman? You've got 3 Heisman. You got 3 guys, 2 guys that went number 1 in the draft and won the Heisman Trophy. Another guy who just won the Heisman and almost definitely goes number 1 in the draft next year.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he breaks his neck or something. I mean, there's just
yeah.
There's no way you pass up on this kid. They're talking about taking here's a crazy one. And he's a great athlete. But the Florida kid. They're talking about he's going to go number 1. Wow. And this dude, I mean, he ain't Caleb Williams. He ain't close. Caleb Williams, he was the best player in the country when he was a freshman. I was screaming it the whole season. He was the best player in the country as a freshman. Yeah, and there's not. But they have to be careful of how they go about it. But you're right. I mean, in these they don't care about the ex players talking to them either.
Nope.
It's fine. They got people pissed off at Gerald McCoy right now for doing that. All the SC dudes are pissed. Like they're going to get a freaking stud defensive lineman. That's not what they do. Yeah, about the portal. Yeah. No, yeah, they can do. Listen, Hank, there's again, indirectly, they can do whatever they want. And you have Caleb Williams say, hey, want to come catch passes for me instead? But and they were losing their quarterback at Pitt. So it made sense. So again, they're always going to do better in the portal than they're going to do. But AR, yes, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony, is he like Vince Young? I guess he is kind of a little bit. He's got a big cannon. He's not super accurate. I don't know, man.
Does he
athletic.
smoke? Does he smoke as much weed as Vince did?
That was Ricky, man. Vince didn't smoke weed. and
Oh,
listen,
that's right.
I hate on Vince as much as anybody, but I would say that wasn't him. That was Ricky, man. It was Ricky and Cedric too, probably, because Cedric wanted to be Ricky. Um, but and I'll say this: that season that Vince Young had, God help me for saying it, the most amazing season I've ever seen. I mean, there's no way they should have beaten SC that
I
year.
agree. I agree.
Oh, it was brutal to watch. Brutal. And I was in Midland. That was the year I went to Midland. And
Yeah.
coach, it was so obnoxious. Oh, so
Yeah.
obnoxious, man. Oh,
Yeah.
good grief. Yeah. And again, I think he's great athlete. And hey, listen, they were gonna win another one with Colt if it hadn't been for Colt getting hurt in the
Hurt.
Alabama game. They were winning. And it
Yeah.
looked like they were about to pull away. And Colt got hurt. Alabama wins. The rest is history. But are they able to fire Mac in a year after that if he wins that one? I think's not. But thank you, the lost odds. Thank you, thank you. College football gods, we appreciate it. So, yeah, because I still think that Mac was unbelievable coach. He I know there were some issues that they had off there, but it just goes to show what we were talking about before. You're never going to have. Why did they hire Sark? Because he's that flashy hire that you would never see them hire a guy like Chris Kleinman. You would never see them hire a guy like Leipold. You're just not going to see it. You never see them hire a guy like Kyle Whittingham when you should. You know, he's doing it with less at Utah, but that's not the kind of guy Texas is ever going to go get. They'd go get a guy like Chip Kelly first. They'd go get, that's got some kind of shine. They'd go get Urban Meyer, because he's won them and all that stuff. Even though it looks to me like Urban's probably a little washed, right?
I'd let them have Urban.
Yeah, I think I would too. There was early in the process whenever Tebow left, I thought, maybe Urban win one, let him go. He won't be there more than 5 years. But you start thinking about it, and it never goes well after he leaves places. It never goes
No.
well.
I had when I coached at Midwestern State, I coached there with a guy by the name of Billy Gonzalez. We called him Gonzo, but Billy coached our receivers, and but anyway, Gonzo got hooked up with Urban and was at Boise and all. He moved into Florida, and I mean he was with him for a long time. And Gonzo was a pretty straight shooter,
Right.
and good coach, good Christian man, and you know what?
Right.
When he left Urban when he was at Florida, and I knew there were some things that were going on there that were not good. And obviously, as we rock along, a few
Yeah,
years,
we
we
don't
see
we didn't know it was that crazy,
right, right.
Shit.
But I knew when Gonzo left him, it was something that was pretty bad because he'd been with him for a long time and he would have stayed with him.
Sure,
It
sure.
wasn't like they weren't winning. Uh,
Right.
but he moved on and Gonzo guys, he's probably one of he's seen as one of the top receiver coaches in the country.
Mhm.
But yeah, Urban
He's back
is.
at Florida now, right?
I think he might have gone back.
What's his first
Uh,
name?
Billy Gonzalez. You're
Yeah,
right.
he is. They just rehired him. They just rehired him, and all those guys, the high top and Cody and those
Yeah,
dudes, they're
yeah,
excited about him being back. And
yeah,
he's been there a couple of times, but yeah, he's back there to be
yeah.
the
I
receiver
loved him.
coach.
He was, he actually played he actually played at Colorado. Uh,
Okay,
and I even thought that maybe Dion might go after him to bring him
sure,
back to Colorado. But yeah,
right.
he's a heck of a coach. But that kind of told us a lot about Urban.
Yeah, if he left Urban, yeah, well, it tells
Yeah,
you, yeah, the wide receiver coach, Gonzalez. And that's what Cody was talking about him a lot this last couple of weeks, and I've been on the show a few times with him. And then,
Yeah.
of course, you guys saw the coach and I were on there the other day with him as well. But they're excited about him, real excited about him. And they were a little worried because it took a while for them to kind of get him. But I tell you, Billy's doing pretty good. Oh, you got sleeping medicine. Okay. Well, hey, I hope you feel better, Adela. I know you were struggling with being sick. So feel better, and we'll see you here. I'll talk to you here in the next couple of days, and you can jump on the next one with me as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, get the feeling better, Adela.
Yep. Um, so yeah, thanks a lot for coming into the show too. Again, yeah, there's hey man, there's some, and you know how it is in college football, man. There's just some of this stuff is, I mean, you remember those guys,
But
there's always those dudes throughout the history that,
but you
they
know what's
win.
I tell you what's amazing to me. It seems like, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but you get these guys that, basically no name kind of guys, and then all of a sudden they win some games, and
Right, right.
their names out there, and they have
Sure.
even more success, and then they do stupid things that you're like, why would you do something like that? I
Mhm.
mean, like, you don't know in today's day and times that people are videoing, and they know who hell, hey, there's Urban Meyer. Out comes the video phones, and I was at the same
CJ,
bar, and
he's
yeah, I
CJ,
mean,
he caddied for him a couple of times. He's there at in Vegas now.
yeah,
And CJ
yeah,
said he got over there and he was walking up the trail and he looked at him and goes, "What the hell are you doing here, coach?" And he was he was just surprised to see him and stuff. And he was,
yeah.
but yeah, I guess he's back in Vegas a little bit now too. So
But
yeah,
people, I mean, you can't go out and do that kind of stuff. I mean, and I think they start believing that they're bigger than they really are, and
of
that
course. Well, I mean, they get
nothing
away
but
with everything, man. They're getting paid freaking 10
yeah,
million a year, $100 million contracts.
yeah. And
They get
that's
to
another
do whatever
thing.
they
Hey,
want.
and that's another thing. Go ahead and fire my ass. Pay me my 10 million, and I'm
Right.
gone. I mean, come on.
I
Uh,
couldn't believe
you
so
know,
many people were argued with me last week about the whole thing with Jimbo, which is the next thing we're about to talk about. That
good.
Jimbo has any reason whatsoever why he has to let this guy call the plays. He don't have to do shit. They
Yeah,
owe him $90 million.
exactly.
And he's a perfect example. In fact, this is a great segue to it. The very first deal, right? You know what? Let's just watch it a little bit. In fact, I actually have it here. The very first uh, media availability for Jimbo. What's the first thing they wanted to know about? What do you think? I'm gonna tell you if how it was going with the
Sure.
new OC. And immediately, and I'm talking immediately, the dude got freaking pissed. He wasn't happy about having the conversation. Um, and I probably should have edited this a little bit, but I can jump around in it. So I'm going to share this screen. Where is it? Window. Here it is. Share. Okay. So yeah, right off the bat. So
Hey,
they
it's Dumb
immediately
and
go to
Dumber.
questions about Petrino, Dumb and Dumber. I love it. I love it. Here we go. I'm gonna take this off of there for a second. All right, and take the chats down. Not yeah, 90 million reasons to say I don't have to do nothing because they're gonna pay him. They're gonna
Yeah,
pay him either way. They have to.
yeah.
Oh no, that didn't come in good. All right, well, that didn't record right.
Good
I'll
try.
pull it up on YouTube. I'll pull it up on YouTube. It's all right. Give me 1 second.
Well, and again, we've talked about Jimbo before, and I'm not a fan of Jimbo just because of what he did back at Florida State, with
Oh,
Coach
well,
Bowden and
the
stabbing
stuff that he
him in
did to
the back.
Coach Bowden that went on at the end, yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh,
yeah. He just he stuck
chicken
that
shit.
knife so deep in Bowden's back that
He did.
it
Made them all think that he was like senile and shit like that, and that's ridiculous.
yeah.
You know, unbelievable.
Oh, I
That's the
guarantee you.
one man that should have been able to go out on his own terms. Should he not have?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. I remember talking and this was during some of that time that was going on, and I'd see Coach Bowden and I'd see a lot of those guys at the National Coaches Convention.
sure.
And matter of fact, that year I think we were in Tennessee at the National Coaches Convention there, and I I, I stopped and talked to him, and he didn't care if you coached junior high football. He was going to stop and talk to you, and
Right.
he was just a really good guy, and I stopped and talked to him, and after I left, I thought, hell. You're really kind of being accused here of being senile and you're losing it, and shit, there wasn't
Yeah.
no loss in that dude. I'm telling you, he was as sharp as a tack.
Right. Right. Yeah, folks, they all
But
have the same agent. All the whole SEC and Coach Venables and all. I mean, yeah, all the big boys all have Jimmy Sexton. He is the man.
yep,
He kind of runs college football at this point, at least as
yep,
coaches are concerned. All right, so here's we're gonna pull this up here.
Very excited about getting back into practice. Great to get the ball, get back on the practice field.
Y'all can hear that?
Spring is always a
Yeah.
great time. It's about fundamentals. It's about getting back to basics. It's getting back to practicing until you not do it right, till you can't do it wrong, and learning to make sure your assignments, your alignments, your leverages, your steps, which is football always is. But spring is about that. It's about great competition, guys going out and competing hard every day, practicing hard every day, developing great habits, and keep starting the basis of your first unity as a team, understanding how to do that. On the field, we've done that so far in January, February, a little bit of March, and now we get back out there to get ready to play. It's always an exciting time. Look forward to it, and guys seem to be energetic. Things have gone well, seems like so far. So we have to go out there on the field, we have to execute and great habits.
I love Coach Speak.
I'm sitting here, I'm laughing.
Alignments, great assignments, great
That's all it
techniques,
is.
great
I mean,
effort,
what has he
which allows
said
us to
so far?
execute, which at the end
Not
of
a
the day,
Not
is what it's
shit.
all about. But at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
and then
football is
as soon as they ask him something real,
leverage, low man
is
wins,
where it's
hand
gonna go.
placement, hat placement, steps, angle. A few guys that will be out for.
Will there be in the offense, and how much
We ain't
control?
worried about. Here's what we're doing.
How much
watch.
control?
This is literally he barely gets out about
Just getting
5
over
words.
that, he'll start off slow and get back, but he should be with us before the spring is over. So that'll be it. Questions?
Second row on the right.
Jimbo, how much difference will there be in the offense, and how much
We
control?
ain't worried about. Here's what we're doing.
How much control does Bobby have?
We're running our thing. We're going to be base fundamentals. We ain't getting into scheme. We ain't getting into anything. That's what we're going to do.
Irritable right
That's
away.
what we're going to do on a daily
Yeah.
basis. What we put in that day, and then we'll be base fundamental. How you execute your scheme is what's about fundamentals.
Front row on the right.
What went into the process of bringing Bobby Petrino on board?
That was a guy we wanted to hire. I've known.
Previous relationship with him as well.
I've known him a long time. We had great respect for each other, and we
Can y'all still hear
thought it would be, after meeting and talking to him, we thought it'd be a very good fit for what we're trying to do and the things that we believe in and what goes on.
Right side, David.
Jimbo Nias talked about setting an example and having a certain level of excellence when he goes to every practice. Just talk about that, especially in light of how last season went.
That's what it's about. That's what any sport's about. That's what anything is about. It's about setting a level and being able to not do it right, practice it till you can't do it wrong. And then being able to set that on a daily basis of how you compete, the effort you play with, the alignment, the assignment technique. It gets down to that simple. Am I aligned right? Do I know my assignment? That tells me my technique. Do I give great effort? Which then in turn allows me to have execution. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And being able to do that on a daily basis and have leaders that do that and demand that from their teammates each and every day and each and every practice of how you do things and being able to process that information and move on and deal with.
I want you guys.
But we play that.
I want you guys to see the part that really matters, which is when they start asking the questions. So I'm going to skip ahead.
Do both. They both know each, depending on game plan, what we do.
Second row on the left.
So help me out. So you hiring Petrino is going to help your execution. Am I correct when you're saying it gets down to execution? Whatever you see that he does comparable
It's
to
going to
you,
allow us something. I think he's a very
How
good
mad
coach,
he is.
and I think he'll help us offensively. Yes.
execution. But
Mhm.
so what
And
about
that's what coaching is. I mean, at the end of the day, It gets back to being able to execute what you do and be able to be consistent in what you
I
have
love
to
it when
do.
coaches
Yeah, just trying to see that
preach.
you guys a little more comparable. So you feel the execution will be there better.
Well, hopefully, I mean, that's what we're here to try to do. Based off our fundamentals and our work habits and what we do on a daily basis, that's what we'll get back to.
And what about who makes the play calls? Would that be him or you?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through that as we go.
Go back to the back, to
Plan
the
on him
right,
making calls. Plan on him calling plays. I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah. So
right side.
so do you?
back left.
My question now, guys. Now you heard him. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. Jerk. The whole point of this hire, you didn't was to let him play to do this. If you're a Texas A&M fan right now, thank God I'm not. Okay. Do you believe that he's going to let him call plays? I think that the absolute second that this dude, either a play doesn't go right or maybe they lose a game or whatever the hell, if Jimbo lets his dude call plays at all, it ain't gonna be for long. It ain't gonna be for long.
And guys, I'm gonna tell you, you heard it right here tonight. You're hearing it right here. Petrino may not make the whole season there. I
Either that or they
and
would
I know
have
that
to
doesn't
fire
happen very
him.
often.
Either they are going to have that, and here's something that when we were talking about it, I was talking about it with Jay last week, and he said something about this, and I mean, hell, it makes a lot of sense. Hey, if you fire, it's going to cost you $200 million to fire him because you got to pay him, and then who the hell's going to go for less than what you just paid Jimbo? Who's going to go when it's a dumpster fire?
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. If you're Texas A&M, there's no way that you hire some second-rate coach on the cheap. They're not going to do it. The more I've thought about this since Jay and I talked about that, there is no damn way that the next guy doesn't get the same amount of money. I could see them going after, say, a guy like Jeff Lebby. You think Jeff's going to just show up over there and not get paid? I don't. He's already turned down head coaching jobs. He already has. I could see them going after, obviously, who would be another guy? Maybe Robert Traylor. Maybe. I don't know. But again, that's another one of those guys. I think he's a good coach, but I don't think that he's got the pedigree yet for them to give him that job.
No.
I would see them maybe Brian Kelly, but why would you do that? Why would you do that if you're BK? There's no reason for it.
No.
I mean, literally, there's still the problem is though, and then Lincoln Riley would be the only other dude. I could see Lincoln doing it because he would get away with it, and it would be just as bad. But he would be able to talk them into, Urban, maybe. Yeah, I could see Urban. Yeah, what has he got to
Urban's
lose?
done, guys. Urban's done.
He's always done, coach. Shit, he comes back all the time. He went to the NFL, for God's sakes. I was surprised at that one.
I think
But
he's done.
I think he should be done. I think he should be done. But, I mean, crap, he should have been done. Oh, and I mean, he ran off from Ohio State because he knew he was going to be in trouble for the shit they were doing there.
Yeah.
When you got a coach beating up his wife, and then, I mean, at Florida, you had freaking Aaron Hernandez shooting people.
Yeah.
Before they caught him shooting people. I mean, there's all kinds of crap going on over there. Cam Newton, all that stuff. You know?
I know.
Cam Newton. Jeez. Wow. And there's another. Okay, so yeah. Okay, well then you're going to get maybe a reclaim project like a Hugh Freeze, which you can coach. But man, I was surprised that they let him go to Auburn. After that stuff that happened in Mississippi was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. He went off to the, the Christian school and got God in him again. And so now he's back. He's better. Yeah. Sheesh, man. Something else. Coaches, man. And it's like you said, they fall in love with their own persona and who they think they are. And I mean, some of them ain't even won shit yet. Like, I mean, Lincoln hasn't won anything. He's won conference titles. Didn't even do that last year. Got beat by Tulane,
Yeah.
And again, yes, I understand that they're there at, they were 4-8 the year before, but still. Yeah. Listen, Texas more cons than pros. I remember that one. 05. Yeah. I remember that one. Cons and pros. One of the favorites was the Catholics versus convicts, though, when they did the whole thing with Miami.
Yeah.
They did it. Yes, the 30 for 30 about that. Did you ever watch that 30 for 30? That was one of my favorite ones, man. I love those shows. But yeah, Catholics versus convicts, man. That was awesome. Those were some games back then, man. That's when Notre Dame and I mean Colts and those dudes, and then obviously going up against Bobby Bowden and them at that time too.
Yeah.
Miami. I mean, those games,
Great games. Yeah.
The Miami and freaking and Florida State games too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. One of my very first memories of like an amazing game. You remember that year that I think it was the year that Colorado won the national championship because that's when Notre Dame had a rocket. And he returned that punt and they called it back, and then Colorado ended up winning. And I was there at my grandparents' house watching that.
Oh, wow.
And man, whew, that was a ball game. That was that's one of those first, I remember Jamel Holloway was my favorite. Jamel was a stud, man. And I remember that was when I remember the Sooners so much. Me and my pops, we were watching Jamel Holloway, and he had taken over for Troy Aikman. He was so good that Troy Aikman left.
Yeah.
A Hall of Famer, gone.
That's right.
And this is a freshman.
As you say that, though, I mean, and I know people will argue with me. Troy wasn't just a great quarterback. He was surrounded with great people.
Great coaches. He had great coaches and he had great players. He had the leading rusher of all time.
I'll say what he was. He was a hell of a leader. He was a very vocal, good, strong leader. But as far as being just a phenomenal player, he was never a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big arm. He was the prototype guy. And I mean, but the thing was, if you start thinking about all those, and first of all, they had the best offensive line maybe in history.
Yep.
With Larry Allen and freaking, I mean, those guys were insane.
That line was incredible.
Incredible. Imagine Barry Sanders running behind that offensive line.
Oh, my
Holy shit. He was going to break that record before Emmett ever got it anyway. Yeah. Is he though, James?
Yeah.
You sure you want to say that? Because what about old Trent? What about Trent Williams? That's an Oklahoma boy. Let's get it right now, James. Let's get it right. No, Trent. I think that Larry Allen is clearly one of the. If he ain't the best, he's right there with them. You got to also. There's some other guys. What was the dude from Cincinnati? Oh shit. Damn it. The old Bengal. Remember him? Munoz. Anthony Munoz. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you. But here's the thing. Yeah, and that's the whole deal about, and I would say kind of the same about Troy. He was smart. He knew what he had. And listen, when you have Larry might eat Trent as a side dish. Did you say that? He was a big dude, man. He was a big dude. Anthony Munoz was a bad dude too. I mean, obviously Trent's a bad dude. These offensive lineman guys. I mean, there's a few of those guys that you're just like, wow, that they just changed the way that left tackle got played. But look, I mean, you look at that whole line all the way across. Then you had Emmitt Smith. Not only that, you had Daryl Johnston. Not only that, you had Novacek. Then you had Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper. They were just loaded. And then on defense, and here's another guy that should be in the Hall of Fame that isn't. Darren Woodson? Why is that guy not in the Hall?
Yeah.
Right? They had Leon Lett. They had, Norton. They had, obviously Charles Haley. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they were loaded.
Prime ended up there, too. I mean, now he was there for their last one, but good grief, man.
No, they were loaded.
Good grief. Yeah, they were loaded. And I freaking hated them. I think thankful the Niners got on that 1 year, but golly, that was with Prime too. You know, as soon as Prime left there, they went back to losing to him, and you know it was. But of course, it was a little different. But LT change of position. Against AP in high school, you did. He threw the ball so hard it took the receiver off his feet. Hey man, he did have a big arm. He did have a big arm.
Yeah, I would believe that.
I would too. He had a big arm, and it's like I mean, you know, I saw Vince play in high school. Well, I think it was you and I went over there and watched Texas and Tech that year, and we got over there to watch that game. Remember? And he just Vince could rifle the ball. It didn't look right, but he could throw it, man. And on top of that, you just weren't going to stop him. I mean, once he got going, you weren't stopping him. You know, but there's some. I mean. Heck, there was a lot of really, really good players back then.
There really were.
That came out. And some of these quarterbacks, you know, this is a different game now. But you think about like Patrick Mahomes, that dude can fling it. I mean, look at Josh Allen. That dude has a freaking cannon.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief, man. These guys can rip nowadays. They can rip it and spin that ball in a different way. But if you think about, I remember John Elway. Good grief, man.
I was fixing to say, you know, I went and watched one of their practices, and well, he made the out route look like nothing. I mean,
he never threw interceptions on the out route.
He'd be on the hash on the out route to the far side, and I mean, the ball was
which
there,
nobody makes that throw, man. Nobody makes that throw. That's a pick six throw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not for John Elway.
No.
Imagine if they'd have had teams that could deal with those other teams that they had to play in those 4 Super Bowls or the 3 that they lost early.
Right.
Because they went up against the Niners. They went up against, was it the Redskins? I remember the Redskins one. Timmy Smith ate them up.
Yeah.
And then Doug Williams. Yeah, Doug Williams and Timmy Smith.
Yeah,
and then, and then they got, the Giants got them too, Parcells. Yeah. They got their ass kicked in those games, but then they probably shouldn't have beaten the Packers when they got them, but they did. I mean, Elway was something else, man. That dude could get it, and he could rifle that football, man.
Yeah.
He was always making comeback wins too, man. Good grief. But anyway, moving on. All right. What else were we going to talk about? So we were talking about Jimbo. I feel like with him, I wouldn't be surprised that I don't see this thing going well for Jimbo. And I mean, how can it, guys? How can it? There's just no way that he doesn't have any incentive to do that. Yes, Favre had an absolutely great arm. You're absolutely right there. But with Jimbo, there's no way. He has zero incentive to have to. And if he believes that he's still a genius, which you know he does.
Yeah.
He's the only guy left that we were talking about earlier. Now offenses, they're making it easier. They just want to go quick plays. You know, we're not going to make it difficult. We want to get our man against their man. And so a lot of these defenses are kind of having to simplify a little bit.
Yeah.
That's not what Jimbo's doing. Now, Petrino will, but will he let him? So,
well, you know, and I'm telling you, I still could see Petrino being gone before the season's over.
What? What's up, T? What? Yeah, dude. No, I wouldn't be surprised. And listen, or if it's getting to that point where they're having that kind of what's going on in the season. Yeah. Are they getting their asses kicked again? Is this what it's going to happen? You know, he'll either be calling plays because he lets him or because the boosters pull the plug. No, and I think that's what – right. So, but the boosters are going to pull the plug, but that means that they have to pay him the rest of that money. So, again, that's why there is no incentive for him to say, hey, go ahead. You know, there's no well, – if you listen to what he said, he was like, yeah, we'll figure it out when we get there. And then he was like, plan on him calling the plays. He looked at somebody, and when right before he said that, okay, yeah, we'll plan on him calling the plays, but that shit ain't over with. That shit ain't over
you
with.
know, here's my question too to everybody is, what the hell was Petrino thinking?
I think he thinks he's going to get the damn job. I think that
That can be the only thing he's thinking. I mean, because,
yeah.
geez, he knows he's not going to be calling the plays.
Mhm.
Now, and you know what? Jimbo may be calling the plays, but saying that Petrino's calling the plays, and that way he's got a scapegoat.
Yeah. Look look at what happened. Like, what did he do? He shit-canned his offensive coordinator that didn't call plays. I mean, he had a scapegoat. He didn't need him to call plays to scapegoat it.
Yeah, true.
He didn't. I mean, the last dude didn't. He's gonna, but again, he just doesn't have to. It's the fact that look, man, he got there because of doing it his way. He won a national championship doing it his way, cheating, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He didn't realize what he was getting into in College Station, folks.
Yeah, I agree.
It ain't the same. This is not Florida State. This is not, they lose there. This is what they do. And I don't care but maybe Saban could win there, maybe. But it's fucked up there. It's just a bad place. It's a weird place, A lot of good people I know a lot of good people that went to A&M.
Oh, I do too. Lots of good people.
A lot of good people that went there. But the stuff that goes on down there, the culty stuff and all that midnight rebel, that Yale stuff that they're doing, that Yale leader stuff.
Yeah.
Man, it smacks of cult to me. It's really
Crazy.
crazy.
It does.
It's pretty crazy down there. But hey, if you've ever been to a game there, whoa. And I'm sure you have, right? It's crazy down there, right? You get seasick. You will get seasick in that damn stadium because it rocks. The one time I was in there, and the first time I went, I was in the press box, and I literally was like, "Shit, this thing's about to come out from under me." I hated it.
Yeah.
Hated it. And
and I tell you what, you talk about some traditions that they've got some,
cool,
great
yeah.
traditions there.
Yeah, they do.
They got some cool things from that perspective, but at the end of the day, it's they're in trouble.
Here's the end of the day. Texas A&M couldn't win with Bear Bryant. The Bear couldn't do it.
I love it.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
The guy went to Kentucky from there.
Yeah.
Kentucky. It's just, it is what it is. Poor old Aggie. You just can't get it done. They throw money at it all they want to. They can throw all the money at it they want to. They're not going to win.
That's not always the answer.
It hasn't been yet. It hasn't been yet for them.
It hasn't been in Texas either.
That's absolutely true.
Both
absolutely
of
true. Hey, folks, don't forget, check out the store. I think there's a couple of shirts in there you guys might like to. I am going to definitely get those other stuff in there, but check out our store. And obviously right up there, the bit.ly/CFB-pod-merch. Make sure that you type it in exactly as it is. You can always take your phone and scan the little QR code there as well. It'll take you right to it.
Did you
all
have
the prices
a
are
deal on here too?
A donation? Yeah, the donations are right here.
Yeah,
they are. So donate to us through the Super Chat heart or on Cash App or Venmo.
There you go.
That's the best way to do it. Really, honestly, would be Cash App or Venmo. But I don't mind. Do it however you want to. We appreciate that. We're about to start doing some memberships. Where we might shorten these up a little bit as far as how long we're going to go with them, and then have some time in where we would have some personal time with you guys in the Discord, so we could do some stuff like that. We can. I'm working on different kind of packages. It's not something that I've done a lot of it on that stuff, so it's something that I'm thinking about. But and then obviously what kind of stuff do you guys need? Or what do you buy? Things like that, because our partnerships pretty wide ranging is what they can be through the impact company that we're working on. So if you work from home, if you need a VPN, I know we've got some great options with VPN type of stuff, website builders, things like that. The site builder that I'm about to do, if you wanted to start your own podcast, you can be using StreamYard, and we can help you get hooked up with that as well. There's a lot of ways for us to help you guys out on that end. We definitely are going to have to start making a little bit of cash on some of this stuff in order to keep it going, in order to bring you guys content all the time. We love doing what we're doing. And, I'm excited to be here, but sometimes it's a little tougher. 77-0, I watched that game. That was so awesome. Yeah, got pissed that Bob didn't hit 100.
I love it.
Yeah, and they could have. That was such a, oh my gosh, I remember that game.
Could have and should have.
Yeah, and still, I can't wait I cannot wait for the SEC. I know it's going to be brutal, and folks, it is going to be brutal. Week after week after week, you're going to run. You only run into Missouri and Vanderbilt every once in a while, So the rest of them right now, Kentucky's good,
Hey, freaking Missouri wasn't playing bad this year.
No, they're good. They're better, and they've got a couple of guys. They're doing better.
Yeah,
but it's still Missouri, coach. Come on. Oklahoma going to beat Missouri's ass. That's just going to be how it is. 9 out of 10, they're going to beat them guys. Now, when you start having it, now that Tennessee's back, though, and then you've got LSU humming along. Again, then with a guy like Kelly is a scary thing to me. He beat Saban in his first freaking year.
Yeah.
It's a scary thing. It's going to be fun, though. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay. So what else we got? What else do we got? I was thinking about. Yeah, that's pretty much all we really had to talk about. We can jump into some other stuff. I'll pop that. Hey, what's up, Matt? You missed almost the entire show, bud.
Man.
Almost the entire show. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to pop in the link. We will take a couple of calls, about 5 minutes each at most, and then we're going to jump out of here. So I'm going to pop that into here. Jump in if you would like. TY mad, but Bama not getting the Citadel will cause a couple of losses. Yeah. I don't. Yeah, not getting Citadel. Yeah, not. Are you saying them not getting to play the same type of those cupcakers at the end of the year now? Yeah, that's pissing him off. That's something that Saban's bitchy about. You know what I mean? But he's been doing this for a while. It's constant. I wouldn't be that surprised if they did. I think it's going to depend on what goes on with their quarterback. But they don't have. Man, I'm sorry to hear that, Matt. We'll jump in with this if you want to. There's the link. You guys, the first one in. We'll talk. We'll take a couple of them anyway, and we can talk about whatever you guys want to, within reason. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see LSU do it. Listen. If Tennessee has a defense at all, I have a hard time thinking that. The thing about Georgia is, and you don't see three-peats very often, and they're going to have a new quarterback either way. But their schedule is garbage, man. They don't play anybody all year. They've got the easier side. Listen, they're in the last year of that division. Aside from South Carolina and Kentucky, and then they'll play Tennessee.
Yeah.
What do they got? They don't have anything out of conference. Of course, they were going to play. There's Matt. All righty. We'll let you in. Welcome to the show, Matt. Thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got
absolutely.
you.
What's up, Matt?
Man, not so much, guys. Sorry about missing the whole damn show. I was kind of just dealing with my sick kid.
That's all right. This is recorded. You'll be able to watch it.
Yeah,
you got to do what you got to do, brother. You got to take care. Hey, Jason will tell you this. Even when he was talking to me about coming on here with him, I told him, I said, you know what? All those years of coaching and all the time gone from my family and being away from my kids, and now I'm in a job where I don't do that. And I told him there may be some times I'm not on because I may be with my grandson or So you're doing the right thing there, brother, taking care of your kiddo.
I appreciate that. So what? I know I missed the Lincoln Riley thing about the. I guess there's a rule, but what's going on there?
Well, essentially, they're going to enforce it now because the rule has been since they started this whole transfer portal deal with that it was going to be you have one free that you can go if you're not playing or whatever the deal is, whatever reason it doesn't work out, that you can go and immediately be eligible at your next school. Well, obviously that hasn't really been the case. You got guys like Tate Martell and JT Daniels and guys like that are going and starting. Both of those guys have been at 4 schools in 4 years. And quarterbacks, you're going to see a lot more of it. But when you start looking at it, is you've got now they're saying, and I feel like also a lot of it is what I was calling it the Lincoln Riley rule in here earlier because of the way that he's been using the portal and misusing the portal and cheating about it. So now I think that, this is a response to the way that, because anytime you hear about anybody misusing the portal, who is it? It's always Lincoln. So I don't know. What do you think? Now they're saying it has to be, either a coach left or there's something really bad going on.
Right. I mean, Lincoln Riley definitely cheated using the portal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious.
Right.
Like with Caleb Williams and all that stuff, Mario Williams,
Jordan Addison,
McCutcheon, Jordan Addison. Like
he's been trying to get Xavier Worthy for 2 years too, man. For whatever reason, they've talked him out of leaving, but he's been on the phone with him twice.
On UFC. Yeah, I'm trying to get Xavier.
Yeah. You're breaking up a little bit.
Did I lose you?
Keep going. You started to. Can say? Go ahead. Hello. Technical difficulties. No, just to kind of finish that off, though, what we're saying is, obviously, when you hear any issues, and this is what we were talking about, is it's always been with Lincoln. And, we know for sure that he had his coaches recruiting for USC while he was still the coach at Oklahoma. We talked about that. We talked about all the stuff with Addison and all the stuff with Xavier Worthy. And, this is the way he prefers it. He would rather recruit. And I think that the more that you start talking about some of this kind of stuff is when you start saying, hey, man, maybe James is right that he's saying he's going to go to the NFL next year. Why not leave with Caleb Williams if you have the opportunity to do so? I'm sure whoever has the number 1 pick is more than likely, probably going to need a coach too. So a coach and quarterback deal, I could see it happening. It wouldn't be that surprising. Now, I know they do owe him still a lot. I don't know that he would necessarily do it, but why not? If you're getting exposed at this point, you wouldn't have to worry about the defense in the NFL. That's going to be somebody else. They won't let you hire they're not going to let him hire Alex Grinch. So whatever. I don't know. The whole cupcake schedule thing, but we'll let Hank in here too now. What's up, Hank?
What's going on?
How's it going, bud?
Hank.
Well, it's going.
It's going, huh? Yeah. What's on your mind? What are you thinking of? What's your thoughts today?
We talked about Tebow. I talk about the fact that I don't think Georgia's going for 3.
Yeah.
Anything.
Why do you think that? What's your thoughts on Georgia? I know it's hard to do it, but they're set up to get. They should get there. You think because of Monken?
Monken.
Okay.
The way he transformed that tight end position in that offense,
right,
was different. Against Ohio State, somehow they managed to keep Bowers quiet until the 4th quarter. And the minute he got one little wrinkle and got loose, that whole game changed.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, that game was over.
I mean, it.
Oh, the Ohio State game. The Ohio State game. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
listen, and I mean, and we were talking about that earlier too on Ty Show, and you were there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I think that was the one team that, because of the way they played, that could have beaten Georgia,
And
just because of the way they played. So,
and I think the second year in old boys defense, if they match up again without Monken calling the plays, yeah, well, Ohio State will win that game.
okay.
Especially without that.
Hey, real quick, Hank, we're gonna have to let Coach out of here. So hold on, real quick, Coach.
All right.
You want to say goodbye to everybody? We appreciate you coming in. I will see you here in the next couple of days. But hey, thanks again for coming on the show. I always appreciate your insight and love having you, man.
Oh, love being here. Y'all have a good night tonight. See y'all later.
We'll see you, Coach.
All right.
Okay,
Coach.
later, buddy.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Coach Phillip Roybal, everybody, again. Love having this guy on the show. He has been one of my favorite people, man, since whenever I took that job over there in Hobbs. I don't know how many of you guys know that story of my first real sports editor job, where I had a staff and everything, was there in Hobbs, and it was when he took the job coming from Dallas Skyline. He went to New Mexico, and I mean, they paid him a fat stack of cash to do it. But it was we were kind of both in there in new places and in a new place, and so we kind of hit it off. He's a great coach, but even a better person, really better person. So I appreciate having him on as always. So appreciate that. Yeah. I'm with you though on the whole deal with Georgia. I think that your one chance to do that was going to be because of the fact that they're in the dome. There wasn't any weather to deal with or anything like that. And this Ohio State rendition of this team is not your old Woody Hayes. They can play in any weather kind of. You know what I mean? I guess they probably can, but this is a speed team. They're Lincoln Light, man. I think that dude is Lincoln Light, man.
And that have no Maurice Claret or whatever at running back that can just knock a linebacker's helmet off.
That's right.
I mean that, man. You gotta
think about the running backs that they had in there when Urban was there. Even Urban had guys. I mean, Zeke Elliott was a lot better in college than he was in the NFL.
Yeah, you got to be able to be a skill back, but at a certain point, you got to put your head down and knock someone's helmet off.
That's right. That's right. You do. You just.
I mean it, and that's.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you, and the thing is that, but, obviously they're not missing a whole lot of guys though. I think I saw that they're going to have 4 new starters on defense. Obviously, Stetson's gone. They've been trying to kick his ass out of there for years. So. I mean, theoretically, they've got a better quarterback coming in. Now, as far as Todd Monken not being there, I could agree with what you're saying. Are they going to change anything, though? Because if it's anything like what they do in Alabama, which it is, they're still going to run things the same way. They're going to do the same stuff. It's just going to be a different guy doing it his way. And they've had this guy before.
But Monken had that knack for the play call.
Sure, I get it.
I mean,
you think that they're going to just they're not taking that wrinkle out, though?
I just don't know if Bobo or I'm pretty sure the Georgia fans going to be calling him Bozo by the time the season's over.
I think they already have done that, haven't they?
But
yeah. No,
I think that semifinal game when he figured out a way to get Bowers open and open up the whole field
right
in the fourth quarter, just that changed my belief on Monken.
No, well, he was definitely one of the better, and that's something else. One of the things that I saw today on and this was something I meant to ask everybody. Did you see the PFF ranking the top OCs in the country? Did you guys see that?
No.
So they had Lincoln's little brother at number 1. which I think is bullshit.
All flash, all gas.
I mean,
come on,
listen,
the fart that's been lit on fire.
they didn't do anything in the freaking championship game.
Nope.
You know, I mean, they looked like Lincoln did in the damn playoffs in that one. And the other thing I would say is that he's the offensive coordinator, and they're giving him a lot of credit. What is Sonny? Sonny is an offensive coach, and he started in that system long before either of the Rileys did. He's been a head coach. I mean, that is his offense. You know what I mean? Obviously, he does the CEO thing very well, and I like Sonny, but I also think that, you know, I think that they're in trouble, but I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that Riley's leaving. I think that it has everything to do with they don't have any more super seniors, and they don't have any. They're changing quarterbacks now, you know, and so it's going to be. And they got their ass handed to them in the national championship game in a way that everybody saw it happen, and so it's going to be a tough sledding. I think that they get beat week 1, and it just doesn't get better after that. I just do. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow found a. Yes, I would. I don't think they can beat Colorado. I don't.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, because how many games did we talked about this? Or well, you brought it up, I believe, on Ty's show. That how many games did Caleb win for OU his last year here?
Well, yeah. So he went in week 6. That was so he won that game.
He won Texas.
Yeah,
he won
the
Kansas.
Kansas game he had to win. They'd already played. Had they already played K-State that year? I was trying to remember. I could go back and look.
Yeah, I couldn't. I put the over under on.
There was at least
right
6
at 4 games.
But there was at least 6 games for sure, and I know that the one of them wasn't his because Spencer played the Tulane game, but they was 40-35. They damn near lost it thanks to him.
Yeah,
and I'm not one of the and for everything that Spencer had to say this past week and why he continues to talk shit about Oklahoma. Be mad at Lincoln, bro. Be mad at Lincoln.
Well, but those fans in that stadium.
Oh, come on, man. He was playing like garbage.
But
I'm sorry, man. He was playing bad. It is what it is. It's like that everywhere. What's the difference?
But yeah.
They're not going to boo his ass at South Carolina when he gets whooped.
I can see his point because I was mad at those fans.
I get it. Listen, I understand that, but here's the one thing I would say is when you're a guy like him and you are known to be kind of an ass, and he is.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, I'm telling you, man. When you're that guy, and everything that happened on Netflix and everything that happened, and then he even said on that interview on that pod the other day that he's still salty and that he was salty. Yeah, we get it, man. And I understand, but what did you want them to do? They're getting beat 28-3 against your rival. What did you expect him to do? And then when he comes in and has the biggest comeback in Red River history, what, you think that now you still should be the starter?
Yeah, no, there's.
I mean, come on, man. Let's be serious about it. And I understand that you're going to transfer. We get it. But there's been a lot of people that have backed him up since then and said that they felt like it was the wrong way to go about it, and that but it was Lincoln, man. It was Lincoln. It wasn't. Look, I get it. I know what you're talking about. That game, the Tulane game, right?
Yep.
They were booing him there.
No, the West Virginia game.
The West Virginia game, they were booing his ass too. Yes, but it was what 15-12 was the final score.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. Hey, man, you get a little thicker skin, bro. You're the quarterback.
I get it completely. And look, I'm still a fan of the guy. The guy, I mean, like it or not, he didn't have to claim me.
Well, Sean's with you. Troll us on. Yeah, fans booing their own players when they're playing like trash. It doesn't happen, Sean. Y'all never do that at Arkansas, right? Never. Come on. Let's be serious. And listen, we were at the start of this show, we started talking about this, and I've been pissed off at Oklahoma fans all day. Don't get me started with it. I'm telling you that I agree with that. As far as that goes, did they go too far? Of course they did. They wanted Caleb Williams from day one. The second that, but here's the deal that I would say about Spencer. He's weak-minded for being a quarterback. The guy can't. I mean, listen, man, you can't have rabbit ears like that and play bad too.
Yeah, his biggest issue is all that space between his ears.
Yeah, because look at his arm. I mean,
yeah,
there's still not many dudes that can throw the football like that cat.
God, and I watched the beginning of the season in the first game. He's working on that Russell Wilson moonshot.
Oh yeah,
where he just dropped, it was an incomplete pass, but he's working on it.
Throws that you shouldn't be able to make. We're just talking about big arms. This dude could throw it.
He had big arm. He had a talented arm. It's like that's what. But then that garbage up there between the ears. It's like, dude, just just put earplugs in and just go.
Now listen, and I agree, but what I'm saying is yes, as a general rule, you're right, Sean, and I get it. I get it. Hey, and I've said it today with all the shit that went down over the Peyton Bowen stuff yesterday. The Peyton Bowen, that first off, Parker should never have said anything about him not being at practice. That's stupid. And especially when you're not going to say, he didn't even say that it's a personal thing, a family thing or something like that. Leave it at that then. Don't leave it out there and make everybody think that he might be taking off, because everybody's still freaked out about him either going to Oregon or maybe, changing his mind, something going on. That was bullshit. And so when they did it, and then he's going to turn around and be pissed off at the fans. Well, I'm mad at the fans too that were saying stupid stuff. And there's plenty of those guys out there, by the way. We don't have as many of them in here anymore, thankfully, because we've run them off. You guys run them off a lot of the time, right? We don't have it. And so, but they're all over Twitter. And it's ridiculous. And so, and damn good and well that there's a lot of those guys, when you go to those games, that some of them people, you can't make them happy. You cannot make them happy.
And I hate ESPN Plus games because of where they locate those cameras.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Some of the things that you hear from some of those fans drives me insane.
Yeah. Get ready for Arnold to be the same way if we have a bad game. What do you mean? As far as you think that he's got – explain that, what you're saying, Kim. You think that I haven't seen the Spencer attitude, man, at all. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see that. And here's the thing: I didn't like Spencer before he got there. Now, and I'm not sitting here saying I'm not just going to sit here and badmouth Spencer Rattler. I understand that wasn't okay. That there's a line that you shouldn't cross. I'm with you guys on that. Okay, I am. Now, again, when you see the things that we saw on Netflix before, I mean, he got kicked out of his senior year of high school. He didn't even get to finish the season. He was an asshole to his teammates there. He thinks that he's the most important person there. Period. He already thinks that way in South Carolina. He had a couple of big wins. He had a couple of big-ass losses, too, last year.
Damn, how did we make it with him and Caleb in the same town at the same time? Because we got Caleb, well, we don't have, thankfully. But they got Caleb and his painted fingernails doing a fashion show in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
Dude, you don't have to worry about football or nothing. Just go on.
He's making money, man. It was a business decision. It was a business decision for him to go out there. He got $10 million to go. Yeah,
he's already making generational money.
That's right. Yeah, and you're right about this too, Sean. They're not happy unless they're winning by 50. I get it. And look, but here's the thing. What they're used to is that it wasn't necessarily that they were losing because they didn't lose a lot of games. They'd lose to K-State. That's probably the one game I'm glad that Oklahoma doesn't have this last year in the Big 12 is K-State because they always beat them. But But when
I
you
could
when you're
never
losing
lose.
the Tulane game was supposed to be in New Orleans. The Hurricane moves it to Norman, and you win by 5. And then you're losing to West Virginia. If it hadn't been for Caleb putting on his cape in the freaking Kansas game, and they had one freaking win all year, they'd have lost that one too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kansas would have beat.
Yeah.
They would have beat OU and Texas in the same year.
Yeah. 2 wins against them.
Yep.
But you're right. No, and I see what you're saying, Kim. They're going to be calling for him to play if Dylan goes and has a bad week. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Dylan's gonna. I think that Dylan's gonna be better this season. I think that having the depth there, is gonna open the playbook up because Levy shut it down. Once he got hurt the way he did, and then you saw what you saw without him, you couldn't afford to get him hurt. The only reason they were in games was because of it. Because it sure shit wasn't because of the defense, and it sure wasn't because, it was. I mean, the offense was doing its thing, but they weren't perfect either. But what I'm saying is, when you're 124th out of 131, and then if you don't have him, then what? They don't. Well, they win 3-4.
And I can. They bring up, Dylan's interceptions from last year, but
6. He had 6.
And I can remember 3 that bounced off receivers' hands.
That's right. And one of them was a holding that they didn't call that was in the Baylor game, right? The two of them were in the Baylor game for sure. That guy was holding on to Braden's jersey.
Yep.
They didn't call it. And it went off his hands, caromed into the other, and the next one it tipped off another receiver's hand. And both of those are actually all 3 of those interceptions that he had in those games. Half of his interceptions were in that game. And maybe one of them was his fault, but those were all in the first half, and they still should have won.
Yep.
I mean, I look at that game, and I remember Danny Stutzman being in the same hole as whoever that was on that other side of that, where, and freaking the running back walks into the end zone.
Squirrel.
Yep, squirrel. And he walks into the end zone on what? It was a 4th down. Was it a 4th down play there too? And he's in the wrong damn gap.
I think so.
And they walk into the end zone. Look, there was and then you have the West Virginia game. Braden Willis goes a little early on that screenplay. He's across that, the line of scrimmage. That's a touchdown, gets called back. They win there. I still think that they made the field goal at Tech. Every angle I've seen of it looks like
I was fixing to bring that up. I was fixing to.
And I'm sorry, when you put up 490 yards against Kansas State, you should win. They did that, and that I'm saying 490 from Dylan.
Yeah,
you should win. When you put up 50 against Tech, you should win. Sorry.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. That's the beauty of what we were talking about earlier is there's so much depth. These young kids, obviously they gotta put it on the field.
Yes.
But if we're to believe everything we're seeing and hearing coming out of spring practice, it looks good. Looks good.
Yeah, they damn sure got the bodies.
Oh, yes, they do, man. And I loved seeing that scrappy stuff going on between Billy and Stoops, man. That's fun. Yeah. And brothers fight, and that means, and then they'll fight harder against everybody else too. I enjoyed it.
Yep. Yeah, that's football.
Yeah.
That's if you take it personal, every snap.
Oh,
that's what football is.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right, gentlemen. Guys, it's been 2 hours almost. I got to get out of here for the evening. I got to get some food in me. We will probably go again on Thursday or Friday. Keep your eye on everything. I will announce it here probably by tomorrow or something, but it'll probably be Thursday. But I'll let you know for sure tomorrow. For sure tomorrow I can't do anything because I got somewhere to be, but we'll definitely get back in here. Help us out. Go buy some pod merch, folks. Go buy some pod merch. It'll be cool. There's some cool stuff in there. How'd you guys like the hat? What's up? Y'all ain't, nobody said anything about the hat.
But here's my question: Did you have to make it orange?
It's red.
Oh, because on my phone it looks like it's orange.
Oh no, it's red, bro. It's red.
Oh, okay.
It's white and red, and then there's different. We've got black. I've got the black horns down on different colors. And a white one too. So like there's 3 different hats. There's some different colors, so you can choose black. This is red. I promise it's red. So it's a black. I've got a black one, a white one, and a red one. And then there's also yeah, we're gonna have some other ones coming up too, but that one for sure. Then there's obviously the Hall of Fame college football logo, the one that's on the screen there. It's it's in just red, white, and blue. So it goes on some different hats too. We obviously have the way past due, for Otis Taylor stuff as well in there. The 5Bs of Oklahoma shirt you guys will like. I know you will. So go check that one out. And then there's going to be some more stuff in there. But guys, go check it out. The prices have dropped down some and everything. I don't even care. I just want to, we've got to start making a little bit of something in here. But check it out and let us know if you want something different. Let us know and we'll get it in there. But I appreciate everybody coming in. Hank, thanks for joining me again on the stream. And you guys share us with your other. I know you guys know more Oklahoma fans. Get them in here. Help us out, man. We appreciate it. Hank, see you later, buddy.
See ya.
Thanks, fellas. You guys have a good night. We will see you on the next one.